When you first open up your Venture Sharpener, you're going to find that the sharpener is tucked away with the knife guide in the stored position. Let's go ahead and take that out and set this up. Now, this process is exactly the same for the WE20, the Venture, and the WE26, the Venture Pro. Once you remove the sharpener from the packaging, you're just going to go ahead and pry off that knife guide. Just pull down on one side. You might be inclined to want to push it off equally, but it's a lot easier if you just pry off one individual side. Now, on the inside of your knife guide, you're going to find these little runners. It's these tiny little arrows on the inside there. And you're just going to line it up with the long rails on the top of your sharpener. Again, same process on the Venture and the Venture Pro. You're going to do a quick check, make sure that you have it lined up properly. Now that we have your knife guide set, let's go ahead and start sharpening. So put your knife guide in the starting position. That's just closest to you. Take your knife. I'm using Leon Ma's Eutectic Binary today. Now to set up your knife in the sharpener, you're going to place your knife on the wings, starting at the heel, which is the bottom of the blade there. You're going to push and pull simultaneously. As you go through the motion, you're going to want to follow the belly of your knife. So instead of just pushing and pulling forward, you want to make sure that you follow the curve of that belly. So here's a couple other knife examples of what following that belly looks like here. Now the standard 500 grit that comes on your sharpener is what's meant for the resharpen, if you will. If you have a dull knife that needs to be brought up. If you went ahead and opted for the 100-200 grit diamond stone, that is essentially a reprofiling stone. So now we're going to go ahead and flip this over to the honing. That's taking a sharp knife and touching it up and refining that edge. Now to get to the honing side on your Venture sharpener, you're just going to pry off your knife guide, set it aside, pop it off, and flip it over. Make sure that it is locked in those grooves. Reapply your knife guide and check to make sure that everything is lined up again. Same process as before. And to flip your stone on the Venture Pro, all you have to do is flip. Quick disclaimer on the Venture Pro, do not attempt to flip that stone with your knife guide in the stored position. You want to make sure that it's either removed or in the top operating position. Now that we have our knife all sharpened up, let's go ahead and strop it. So on the bottom of your sharpener, you are going to have a strop, and this is going to be the case for both Ventures. It doesn't matter which one you have. Now, if you have a standard 20-degree knife, like I do here, we actually angled it so the sides of your strop sit at that 20-degree angle. So if you're not sure how to hold your knife here, you can line it up with those angles there, and that's going to help you determine how to strop. One of the important things to note while stropping is to pull away from the strop. You don't want to push in like you would with the regular sharpening process, because then you'll start cutting into that leather. Now we did already apply a compound onto the strop, so you don't have to worry about getting your own compounds or anything like that. Your strop is already ready to go right outside of the box. And same process for the 20. Depending on how dull your knife actually is going to determine how long you spend on that 500 grit diamond stone. If you opted for the 100-200 grit diamond stone, this process is going to go a lot faster. But don't worry, when it's your first time sharpening on one of the Venture sharpeners, it may take a little longer to bring that knife back to life. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, I have the standard 20-degree knife guide on my sharpener, but I have no idea what angle my knife actually sits at. You can always do the Sharpie trick, which is one of our favorite things to do, where you take a Sharpie and you color in the bevel of your knife. Now that the bevel of my knife is covered in Sharpie, let's go ahead and run it through my sharpener on the 20-degree angle here. What I'm looking for is the majority of that Sharpie removed, especially near the actual edge of my knife. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. This is also great because it's going to tell you if you're holding your knife properly. Now when I look at my knife, I can see the majority of my Sharpie has been removed. If I look closer to the tip, here I'll see some Sharpie that hasn't been removed from the edge there, and that's just kind of telling me that I might not be holding my knife completely flat onto the wing throughout the entire stroke. So I'm going to go ahead and make that correction and finish sharpening my knife here. How do I know when my knife is sharp? Well, you could try to cut something and see how it feels, or take a soft piece of plastic like a ballpoint pen, or in my case this little Sharpie I have here, and just tap it to the edge. You want to push down and pull away. If it sticks, you know you have a sharp edge. Now, If you don't have a sharp edge and you try to push, it's just gonna slide right off. There you go. Now you know how to sharpen on a Venture Series Sharpener.